From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans, it's the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm Vasilios, that is Sean Fazende. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review. You guys can find us wherever you listen to and watch your podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the little bell notification button right there. You get an update every time we upload a new podcast or if we go live. Sean Fazende, happy Monday to you. We just got done NFL divisional weekend. Yeah. Some stuff going on. Some teams are making some moves now that their seasons are over.
Yeah, absolutely.
But one thing we're going to get into today is the Saints offensive coordinator hunt. But how are you doing this? How was
I'm
your
doing
weekend?
good. It was an interesting weekend. Watched the games, good games. I know you're a happy guy being a Baltimore native. That was the only game that wasn't close. Ravens did what they were supposed to do. Got to the AFC Championship game. If not now, win, Sil. If not now, win for the Ravens. We'll see. We'll get into that a little bit later. Watched the games intently. Saw a lot of reaction today from those games. And it just, when I watch games, the further they get in, especially through divisional round, I compare the team I cover to, all right, how far away are the Saints to these teams that are now advancing and winning and doing things? There was a lot of good football being played, especially last night. And even the Lions-Bucks game was a really good game. So bottom line is it's all intersecting for those teams. It's working. It's clicking. That's why they've lasted as long as they did. And how far away are the Saints from those teams is something that I find myself doing all weekend, and then I just enjoy it because I'm a football fan. So all in all, it was a good weekend.
All right, so we saw from a lot of these teams over the weekend, they got some really fun offenses, and that's why these teams have made it so far in these playoffs here. Now, you look at your New Orleans Saints, and we talk about these young, hotshot offensive coordinators all the time.
Yeah.
What would make one of those guys want to come here to New Orleans to be the OC of your New Orleans Saints?
Yeah, well, it's just kind of coincidentally, today I did two different radio shows. I got a request from both guys. I've gone on a show plenty of times about the same topic, about the OC search, and not just today, but last week on a couple of shows I did. And I know we touched on it a little bit in previous podcasts, is why would an up-and-coming play caller want to come to New Orleans? Like I said, I've been asked this a few times, and honestly, while I appreciate the question is not. It has sort of a negative tone. Like, given the situation with Dennis Allen, maybe he could be fired if the Saints don't do well to make the playoffs. Is that going to make this job an attractive one to a young and up-and-coming play caller? Well, the answer is quite simple. The answer is a resounding yes. A lot of things. Even with that background, that as the background, possibly, potentially, DA, if he doesn't make the playoffs, could be gone. This job is not nearly as devastating or as unattractive as that may appear. Sure, that could happen, but that can really happen with anybody. There is a lot to like about the Saints' predicament. From a coaching standpoint, a pure coaching standpoint, a guy trying to advance his career, getting a job as an offensive play caller in the NFL, a premier position. First and foremost, exactly that. It is a premier position in the NFL. It is one of 32. There are only 32 offensive coordinators in the NFL, and some get the title, but they don't get the actual responsibility. They don't get the call. They don't get the big money third down call on game days because the head coach sometimes does that. Here, you get to do it all. You get to do it all. You get to not just have the title. You get to conduct the meetings. You get to sort through the plays. You get to call plays on game days. The Saints offer a guaranteed play calling position in the NFL. They just don't come around very often. When you talk about the amount of guys that are vying for those opportunities, and there's so few of them. Even this year, when there's going to be a few more than normal because of the down year, I guess, around the NFL, if you're an up-and-comer and you get an opportunity with a defensive-minded head coach, you're basically the head coach of the offense. So you have a chance to come in here, one of 32, and not just a generic one of 32, one of 32 where you are a legitimate game day play caller. I don't care what's happening on the outside. If this is a tough job because the head coach may or may not get fired, this is still an opportunity. Secondly, the Saints offense, this is really what really would sell me if I were an up-and-coming guy. The Saints offense struggled early last season. We know that. We watched it. We watched them struggle. We watched the growing pains, and we saw the offensive struggles not just here, but throughout the NFL. They found themselves later in the season, a little bit too late in the season. That's why Pete Carmichael is no longer here. But overall, it was a down year. No one disagrees with that, especially the last couple of seasons. No one disagrees with that. I think everyone understands that. So if you're the guy that comes in here and resurrects this offense to prominence, you get all the credit. It's your offense. You get all the credit. No one else. You become Joe Brady at LSU in 2019, even though he wasn't the primary play caller that year. But you saw what happened when he was an unknown guy. They took a chance. Look what happened to his career. Now he's calling plays obviously for Josh Allen. And who knows, maybe he becomes in the mix here at offense coordinator. We'll find out. Then what comes next after that? Well, offensive coordinators that go in and change cultures, offensive cultures at organizations, become head coaches. So you come in, it's 1 of 32. If you come in and you do a good job, you automatically go shoot up the ranks in terms of premier coaching candidates, a la Bobby Slowick in Houston right now. It was his first season as a play caller. He's getting head coaching opportunities, head coaching interview opportunities. Ben Johnson, Detroit, I think it's his second year on the job, maybe third. So to me, you become that guy, the next hot head coaching candidate, which ultimately all these guys want to be a head coach one day. So you not just come here being a premier play caller, a premier position as a play caller. If you do well, you get all of the credit. It's your offense that turned it around. It's your offense that resurrected the Saints offense back to prominence. You become the hot name. To me, that's a sell. And then third, on the flip side, let's just say the offense stayed relatively the same, didn't get much better, didn't get much worse, and the Saints disappoint, and the coaching staff is let go, you included. Well, that would be more of a Dennis Allen failure. I don't know that the actual play caller here for 1 year at the end of a 3-year disappointing tenure would all of a sudden stain the resume so much that you couldn't recuperate from. It would hurt the resume.
For sure.
But I don't think it would stain it so much to where you couldn't find another job and work your way back up. And look, judging by these candidates, it's probably, at least the early round of candidates, these guys would be young enough to resurrect their career in that situation. But I'm not sure it would be viewed as a debacle or a career ender unless it was painfully obvious that the guy was just out of his league. So to me, that's all 1, 2, 3 check marks. And another one is this. I know we act like the offense was terrible, but if you really break it down, it was just more of like average. And by the end of the season, it leveled off to where it was top 10 in some categories, top 12 in other categories, top 16 in other categories. Bottom line, the Saints have players. They have some players. It's not like this is a disaster here talent-wise, despite what the commenters might think. Derek Carr is solid at quarterback. I think he's solid at quarterback. Some young receivers, decent tight end. O-line may be a concern, but this isn't. I don't know that I would call this like, if you were rating all the offensive coordinator openings, this would be the worst one. I think this is a decent opportunity for someone, regardless of the maybe fragile circumstances regarding the head coach, because you could be the guy that not just comes in and boost your resume. You save this offense. You probably saved Dennis Allen in the process, and then obviously you become the red-hot coaching candidate. Look, back in 2008, former head coach had to get rid of Gary Gibbs. He brings in 2009 Greg Williams, and I was there. Like, the culture shock that brought to this organization, they do not win that Super Bowl without him. So my point is, this is not. I don't view this as, oh, the Saints are going to have a hard time finding candidates. I still think this is a job where you can attract a good candidate to come in, and you're offering an opportunity for this candidate to basically do what they want with this offense. I mean, you would go through the certain things you want to deal with in the interview process, but I think it's actually a decent opportunity for someone to come in here and make their mark in the coaching profession. So,
speaking of somebody coming in and making their mark, do you have any leads? Have you heard any whispers of anybody as a favorite
it's been
for
an
this
interesting
job so far?
coaching search. It really has been, because, like I said, I was on 2 radio shows today, and they wanted more information of the names that had been leaked out. So we know Shane Waldron, he took the job reportedly to Chicago, so that's one guy out. Dan Pitcher, Zach Robinson, Gerard Johnson is a new name. We mentioned him a couple days ago. We did the Pete Carmichael pod because he is the Houston Texans quarterback coach. We saw what he did, obviously, with C.J. Stroud.
Right.
That rookie season is going to be very rewarding to a lot of people. The offensive coordinator and that quarterback coach, the two guys that work hand in hand with C.J. Stroud, those guys are going to get rewarded. So I could certainly see why he would be on their list. All guys under the age of 40, all from the McVay Shanahan tree. I'm talking about Pitcher, Robinson, Johnson, and of that crew, if I'm not mistaken, I think all would be first-time play callers. Now, it should also be noted, I don't think this is it. I don't think it's just going to be these four and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's going to be a few more interviews and candidates that pop up potentially on possible organizations that are still playing right now. What's also important to point out is this. The top-tier offensive coordinators that are established places, that are calling plays, are not in search of another offensive coordinator job. They're generally in search of the head coaching job. And the likelihood that they would leave a spot where they have made their name as a head coaching candidate, even if they don't get that head coaching job, like, for instance, Slowick. If Slowick doesn't get a head coaching job, is he really going to leave? Why would he leave? So there is the list you kind of get to that OC that doesn't necessarily call plays, quarterback coach, passing game coordinator types, not necessarily every day, every week play callers. Waldron was, I think, but that Seattle situation, he obviously is going to Chicago, where I guess they'll, I don't know, maybe draft Caleb Williams. I don't know. It seems to me like that would be the draw, but who knows? But I think that's where the list is going to navigate to. We've mentioned other names. Joe Brady's an interesting name because he's got connections here.
Right.
But why would you leave Josh Allen? And he got a head coaching interview with the Atlanta Falcons.
Saw that.
So I just think you're probably given you've moved on from Pete Carmichael, it got stale, 18 years, and unless the other guy is Gruden, it might be a situation where they could end up with a first-time play caller as offensive coordinator. Clearly, they've shown they're willing to take that risk. Mm-hmm. And you know what? It may be worth it. But also this, I've been asked a ton about the timeline. I hate to be vague with my answer. I just don't know. I'm just doing my best guess here. You're in the divisional round just ended. You got championship weekend. Senior Bowl is next. I want to say in 2008 when they hired Greg Williams was present at the Senior Bowl with the Saints staff. I'd have to go back and look when Rob Ryan was actually hired. But my point is, I would think somewhere in the neighborhood of the Super Bowl, either right before or right after, because after that you got free agency and pre-draft stuff. You got to get your guy on board with what you want so you can all combine heads and get to the point of what you're looking at and the type of players you want to get and collaborate here and get to that point. So I would think in that window, but Mickey Loomis says they're not going to hire too fast. And I believe him with that because that dude he is painfully patient sometimes. So he's gonna take his time. DA is gonna take his time, and we'll see who that coach is. Look, if they fall in love with the guy early and they hire him, that's great. You find your guy soon, get on with it, and get to this offseason process where it's going to be of utmost urgency. But I really don't have a definitive timeline, and I'm not even sure how wide the net is cast in terms of candidates. We know of 4. Mm-hmm. Could there be more? I think there's a few more on the way. We'll see.
All right. So, like you mentioned, we talked about it at the beginning of the show. We are heading into the championship week for the respective conferences. Do you want to take a look at last week's divisional round and look ahead into this week's matchup, Sean?
Why not? I'm a football fan. I know you want to talk about it. What hat do you have on?
I want to talk about it.
What hat do you have on right there?
I got a Baltimore Ravens hat on.
Okay, you don't want to show the audience? That's okay. That's
okay.
You
know, I will do it.
Yeah.
Screw it. It's on the line.
Baltimore
Ravens
days
fan
left. Right there.
But,
congratulations. Look, he has never been to that round. Congratulations. He got to that round, so he finally was able to get through it. It was an interesting game, that Ravens game. What'd you think?
I thought the Ravens kind of got shut down in that first half there. I thought the Texans did a great job blitzing and containing Lamar. But then that 10-10 at the half coming back out, the Ravens just dominated from then on. And talking about guys looking for head coaching jobs, that defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald, he might seriously be
What
a
about
candidate.
Monken? Monken's done a phenomenal
Monken's
job.
doing crazy too, and he's only in his first year. So I don't know. Like, I think
Is McDonald his first or second year?
this is his second year as the DC.
Okay, so that's two pretty significant changes that coordinator Harbaugh had to make in the last 2 years, and he hit.
And
he
might
has hit.
He might have to replace those guys sooner rather than later. Now, if Monken leaves, then I think T. Fields, the quarterback's coach, becomes the OC, and then if McDonald leaves, I actually genuinely don't know who takes over as DC.
Look, I watched that game. I thought what was huge, and it probably got lost in the shuffle because of the final score ended up being a kind of a blowout. Texans missed field goal at the end of half.
Yeah.
They had it just felt like when they missed that, they had a chance to go into the locker room with a lead, feeling some momentum. And you're right. I don't know what the Texans did by they stopped blitzing in the second half. Monken adjusted. Ryans didn't really adjust. I thought the second half, Stroud looked like a rookie. Ryans looked like a first-year head coach. And it looked like at some point it kind of hit him like midway through the third quarter that it was done. And they were just kind of going through the motions at the end of the game.
The Ravens defense just dominated too, dude.
They're
Like,
not
they
getting
were
enough
just
credit.
swarming.
They're not getting enough credit.
Not at all. And I think like limiting, I wouldn't even say limiting, stopping the Texans' run game and then making C.J. Stroud look like a rookie, I thought was huge. You kept that
He looked
offense,
uncomfortable.
Yeah, you kept that very usually explosive offense out of the end zone.
Yeah.
The touchdown they scored was on a punt return. So
It was a great game, and honestly, they're the more complete team. They're better than the Chiefs. They are. They're better than the Chiefs, but they got Jordan. They got Patrick Mahomes.
They do.
And I went against them this week. I'm staying away from it now. I know who you're pulling for, but I'm not predicting the winner in that game. I have no idea because they got the X factor in Mahomes, but Baltimore to me has the most complete team, the complete roster. And if not now, win. Not now, win.
this has to be it. You have the perfect core. You have the coaches that you need.
That's it.
And then
this is the sweet
this is
spot
it,
right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, some of the other games, I thought, I know you're a big Jordan Love fan. I thought he started off the game well, played well, but I thought he hit a wall in the fourth quarter, and he made dumb decision after dumb decision. And then, Purdy battled. He was not his best, but he did just enough to get him over the edge. But that's another really complete team, San Francisco, and they're going to NFC Championship because they did not play their best game. In fact, you could say Green Bay outplayed them.
And you know what? As many boneheaded decisions as Jordan Love made, honestly, if Darnell Savage holds onto that pick or holds onto that ball early in the game when Brock Purdy made that terrible read, we might be talking about a different outcome here. But
A lot of ifs.
a lot of ifs.
You could say that about the game last night too.
100%. But I think genuinely between C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love, the two quarterbacks of those losing teams, you can honestly say the league is in good hands when it comes to
They are,
quarterbacks.
but I think we're a little guilty of every first round quarterback that comes in is the next one. But I think Stroud has proven himself. Love has proven himself.
For sure.
There's about 5 or 6 that I'm totally like Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis.
So undecided, yeah.
Still undecided on those guys. So, yeah, we'll see. And then, obviously, if I had to take a poll right now of the team Saints fans are pulling for the most, it would be Mr. Kneecaps himself, Dan Campbell, and the Detroit Lions. A great game, well-called game, well-executed game. They were the better team. I thought Tampa played well.
Sure.
I thought Tampa played well.
I thought Baker
I
played
thought
his way
Baker
into-
played really
Yeah.
well, despite what C.J. Gardner-Johnson said. I thought Baker played really well, responded, but I just thought the better team, the team that played the best, ultimately won that game. What was the deal with – so they get the pick and the game's over, but I don't know if you saw today, like –
There was no timeout left.
They had a timeout. Why didn't they use their timeout? I think they could have forced a field goal there at least.
I don't know. There were a couple of interesting decisions towards the end of the game there. I thought going for 2 from Todd Bowles was a little bit iffy. I thought, like, if you didn't get it, there should have been a pass interference on that 2-point conversion attempt. But
Yeah, it really should have been, yeah.
But I think if you miss that, you still have to go for 2 just to tie it now. So I would have kicked it and then saved the.
I don't understand, man. You go
circumstance
into
for
the
the
office
game.
and with a timeout in your pocket. What's up with that?
And then that was weird. I think just so many things compounded into that loss for Tampa Bay, even though so many things went well. And I think you have your quarterback, though.
I got to say this, man. That Lions draft class is, that's so good. The last 2 years, Jahmyr Gibbs, Laporta has become one of my favorite players in the NFL.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs looks like he shot out of a cannon on the field.
Aiden Hutchinson.
The linebacker that made the pick. He's a draft pick, right?
I can't remember his name.
Escapes me right now. They've done really well with free agents. Hell, you got Anzalone, former Saint. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, former Saint. Dan Campbell, former Saint assistant coach. So, yeah, there's a lot of similarities, a lot of connection there. So I would imagine Saints fans are Lions fans. And you can certainly you could certainly connect with that fan base. And I thought Dan Campbell has just every press conference he said a home run. I mean, he articulated that grit thing so well when you talk about, you don't necessarily think of that when you think of L.A. Think of Detroit, you think of that. I thought he articulated it perfectly. He just gets it. Dan Campbell just absolutely gets it.
And I think not just the team, but the fan base, and I think nationally people are really starting to buy into what
well, they have to now. They have no choice.
Absolutely.
He's not a fraud. He's not just football guy. He's not just meathead. Right off your kneecaps. No, this guy knows what he's doing. Absolutely knows what he's doing. The organization is built right. They got a quarterback that, look, a lot of people mocked him, but he's battled. He's taken a lot of stuff, and here he is at the NFC Championship game for Detroit. So that trade has worked out for them as well. The Stafford trade that ended up getting them Jared Goff. So yeah, that was a good game. And then my favorite game of the weekend, Kansas City, Buffalo. So much talk about this game today. Man, I connected with Buffalo fans when they lost that game because it's a small market. They've had a lot of torment in that franchise. I mean, it's a weird torment because they've been to 4 straight Super Bowls back in the 90s, lost all 4.
Yep.
Feels like they've been knocking on the door for the last 3 or 4 years. Josh Allen is awesome. He is, and I thought he was fantastic yesterday.
But Mahomes is just better.
Mahomes is just better in the postseason.
Yep.
I think the only way to get through is if you just don't face Mahomes in the playoffs. I think if he faced anyone else, he may have a shot. I know he lost to Burrow last year, but it was a great game. It was a fantastic game. And look, Mahomes went on the road, got it done. Are you getting a little bored with the Chiefs? Because I kind of am. I'm kind of getting that whole Jordan vibe.
So you're telling me you're rooting for the Ravens this weekend?
I kind of want them to win because I'm kind of over the Chiefs, but dude, I'm not picking against them. I'm kind of rooting for them to win.
Got it.
So,
noted.
Look. He's hard to beat.
He absolutely
is hard to beat.
That team is, and just like as much as we talk about the receiving weapons not really being there, let's talk about the running game because Isaiah Pacheco has really stepped up as that back, and he runs hard.
Well, he ran, and honestly, I thought that was a huge part in the game because obviously Buffalo was terrified of injuries. They were banged up injury wise, and that really, he ran right through them, and I felt like the way Kansas City played Josh Allen, forced him to go underneath, actually helped Buffalo's defense because they weren't on the field that long because they had 1 punt in that game. I think they only had like 4 third-down attempts, 4 or 5 third-down attempts. So it was a chess match. It was a fantastic game. I do wonder, I doubt it happens, but I do wonder if Buffalo as an organization says, you know what, we've gone as far as we can go with McDermott as coach. We've got to have some kind of jolt here to get something over. The formula is close, but it's just not working.
I do know that feeling.
Exactly, you do.
And so I definitely sympathize with Bills fans. And I mean, just losing in such a heartbreaking manner. I thought there was a couple of interesting that punt, the fake punt with DeMar Hamlin last night.
Was that an audible, or did he really want to call that? Because I know the Chiefs didn't have enough men on the field. So it should have worked, but it didn't. Having DeMar Hamlin run that, he's just not an offensive guy and trying to read blocks and the missed field goal, obviously. And then, a lot of people are pointing to that throw that he missed to Diggs underneath. I actually didn't mind the throw through the end zone right there for Josh Allen. The guy was open. He just missed the throw. He just missed the read was there. It should have been a touchdown, but he missed the throw. And then what's happened to Stephon Diggs?
I've never seen a guy fall off as much as I've seen Stephon Diggs fall off.
Fumbled the first play of the game, dropped a deep ball, had another crosser that he could have had. Man, look, Mahomes is a star. Kelsey is a star. Mm-hmm. They both play like stars. Josh Allen is a star. He played like a star. Mm-hmm. Diggs is supposed to be his number one guy. I just think he's fallen off, and there's not much difference between the two teams, and I think that makes up for it.
I can't help but give a little bit of credence to the constant discussion, and the whispers are really it's almost turning into actual discussion now that he just wants out of Buffalo, and it makes sense to me.
Honestly,
Maybe he just
after
needs to change the
what just happened and where they've gone, that organization is going to have to make significant changes with people that have helped them make this run.
For sure.
And he would be at the top of the list in terms of just a mainstay that's probably got to go.
Have you seen their free agent, like their impending free agents?
No, I haven't.
It is a long list, and these are guys that are veterans. They're going to have to hit on these next couple of drafts and get younger if they want to keep seeing themselves in the divisional round of the NFL.
Yeah, and I think if you just Josh Allen, I think until proven otherwise, he's always going to be that guy that now it's officially in the. Because I look, dude, I watched him play, especially yesterday, 3.5 quarters. I thought he was Superman. I thought he was awesome. I really thought he was awesome. But because they didn't win, even if you wouldn't necessarily point it in his direction, fair or unfair, the narrative is now he can't win the big one. And it's up to him to. Peyton Manning went through it. It's up to him to change it. But, man, it just feels like they're a little bit like, if you got to face that man in Kansas City, it's just not going to happen. It's crazy. So.
I'm sure later in the week I will pry a Super Bowl prediction out of you. I promise.
All right.
But any other thoughts as we head into
one last
this week?
thing. Carolina hired Dan Morgan as their president and GM, former linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually with the Saints very briefly. Didn't actually play it down. Kai Harley They requested an interview with him for that job. So clearly Kai Harley's not getting that. So that's one less team in the market for Kai Harley. Jeff Ireland interviewed there at some point. I don't know if this offseason or last offseason as well. But regardless, Dan Morgan gets the Carolina Panthers job. There's something to monitor going forward.
All right. For Sean Fazende, I'm Vasilios. It's been the Fox and Overtime podcast. We'll catch you guys next time.